So Cracker Barrel goes off the rails once again as the insane backlash gets worse. And longtime customers are still furious over the company's recent changes. Okay, so this ain't letting up anytime soon. Cracker Barrel is losing the customers who actually built the brand. And for years, people went to Cracker Barrel for the old fashioned atmosphere, the food, and the sense of tradition. And now Cracker Barrel has changed its look, its stores, and even parts of its identity. And the reaction hasn't been good lately. Now, Cracker Barrel, as you have seen from the New York Post, is facing backlash because the changes don't match what the restaurant um what made the restaurant popular in the first place. Cracker Barrel definitely goes off the rails and the insane backlash gets worse. Now, the new direction for Cracker Barrel actually ties directly to who's running the company. Now, the CEO simply keeps, doubling down, what else? Dismissing critics as the vocal minority, but that so-called minority actually represents the loyal customers who've been actually keeping, these restaurants alive for decades. Now, families that actually gathered there after church, travelers stopping off highways, and the people who actually appreciated the traditional atmosphere they're not just complaining, they're simply walking away. Now, Cracker Barrel's leadership underestimated their base, and now the brand is actually caught between trying to appeal to everyone simply while just satisfying no one. Okay. So Cracker Barrel's problems started getting worse around 2020, as you all remember, right when the board member Gilbert Davila joined. You see, he came in with the full DEI background and zero relevant experience in the restaurant industry. You see, Davila actually built his career around diversity and multicultural strategy roles, including a stint as vice president of the global diversity and multicultural market development at the Walt Disney Company. See, why doesn't this surprise me at all? Because he came from Disney. And for those of you who actually aren't familiar with this channel, I've been talking a lot about Disney and everything, about how woke they are, as well as how they're failing right now. You see, the results actually speak for themselves. Disney's been losing cultural relevance and bleeding brand loyalty, and now Cracker Barrel is repeating those same mistakes. You see, Davila also worked on similar initiatives for Sears, another once dominant brand that collapsed, as you all remember. And seeing the same pattern emerge here is not a coincidence either. Okay, so basically, instead of just keeping Cracker Barrel rooted in what customers valued, the leadership chase the whole ESG goals and DEI trends that don't fit with the brand. The company openly brags about its new strategic and data-driven approach to environmental, social, and governance issues, laying out plans for policies and reporting standards that actually do nothing to improve the actual dining experience. And while they're busy focusing on social scoring systems and stuff in that DEI money, they've ignored the product, the atmosphere, and the customer loyalty that made Cracker Barrel a household name in the first place. Now, honestly speaking, it's not about calling Cracker Barrel woke for the sake of it, but the leadership structure actually shows why these decisions are being made. Now, people like Davila are actually driving priorities that have nothing to do with running a successful restaurant chain. Now, if you want to innovate the menu, improve quality, or even modernize operations, hire the experts in hospitality and customer experience. But instead, Cracker Barrel simply put people in charge whose expertise actually lies in checking boxes for diversity metrics. That right there is not a good strategy. It's not strategy at all. That's corporate signaling, and customers can see right through it. Now, stockholders are already, just simply feeling the pain right now. You see, Cracker Barrel has lost around $100 million in the company value after the backlash, and the stock price has taken a major hit. And that's real money gone because of, avoidable decisions. And rather than own the mistake and take accountability and course correct, the CEO and the board simply keep defending the strategy and treating upset customers like they're the problem. This isn't just bad optics, it's just bad business. When a brand alienates its most loyal supporters, the fallout is guaranteed. Now, the reaction from Cracker Barrel leadership also shows how, disconnected they are from reality. The CEO claims the changes are about today and tomorrow, not yesterday, which ignores the fact that the entire identity of Cracker Barrel was simply built on celebrating yesterday. There's also people out there who love history, the people who went there for nostalgia, the experience, and the sense of tradition. By stripping that identity away, they turned the restaurant into just another generic chain. And that right there is not innovation. That's simply just erasure. Meanwhile, customers aren't just, upset about logos and decor. They're actually frustrated by being dismissed. In one internal video, the CEO actually boasted about gathering store managers to celebrate the remodels and stuff, framing it like there was, overwhelming enthusiasm. But honestly, even though if that did happen and stuff, they'll just say the good things just going to keep their jobs. But at the same time, those managers aren't going to risk their jobs criticizing corporate decisions in front of the CEO. Calling this fake enthusiasm proof that everyone supports the changes is just wishful thinking. It's a company that's ignoring the warning signs and while pretending the feedback doesn't matter. Okay, and that's not surprising right there at all. Now, even small design choices are alienating the customers. The updated Cracker Barrel logo looks bland and just forgettable, just losing the to distinctiveness that set the brand apart. Some people actually compared it to Waffle House's visual identity, but Waffle House's chaotic charm or cultural staying power and stuff, that's what they're lacking. You see, Cracker Barrel actually had built a visual and emotional connection with its audience over decades, and leadership tossed that away just for a look that blends into every other casual dining chain. Now, honestly, all of this traces back to leadership priorities that are out of sync with reality. Simply hiring Davila wasn't an isolated move. It was part of a broader pivot to chase ESG scoring and DEI-driven branding strategies that sounded trendy back in 2020, but don't translate to customer loyalty or profitability. You see, they hired a Disney-style consultant for a brand built on Southern style nostalgia, and this mismatch shows in every decision. And instead of just focusing on what works for Cracker Barrel, they simply copied ideas from companies that are already struggling themselves. Now, honestly, the biggest issue is that Cracker Barrel's board seems locked into defending this direction and stuff rather than admitting it's failing. Now, customers have been clear about their frustrations, but leadership simply keeps framing it as a loud minority problem. That's the same mistake Bud Light made, as you all remember, when they dismissed the design, the backlash over their marketing decisions. Now, whether or not the initial moves were intentional or ideological, the refusal to engage with criticism has turned the situation into a full-blown brand crisis. Now, if Cracker Barrel wants to recover, it has to reverse the priorities. Stop chasing corporate trend metrics. Start rebuilding trust with the loyal customer fan base, or the customer base. That means bringing in people who understand the restaurant business and the culture around it. Now, the nostalgia, the unique experience, and the feeling of tradition are the exact reasons people chose Cracker Barrel in the first place. Now, simply doubling down on the changes it just accelerates the decline. Now, there's also a bigger lesson here about putting brand identity second to external pressure. You see, Cracker Barrel wasn't losing customers before these changes. You see, there wasn't a crisis demanding reinvention. Now, the chain itself actually had a strong position in its niche and the loyal audience that valued exactly what the company is now throwing away. You see, every attempt to modernize has actually chipped away at the trust and recognition that they spent for decades building. Now, the irony here is that Cracker Barrel claims to be preparing for the future while simply ignoring the fundamentals that actually make sure the long-term success stays. A restaurant's future isn't built on ESG reports, DEI strategies, or generic branding exercises. It's actually built on giving people reasons to choose your experience over the competition. You see, Cracker Barrel used to have that. And now they're just blending into the crowd, and customers have plenty of other options, as you all know. But for now, the company's at a crossroads. Cracker Barrel can admit that it misread its audience, replaced leadership priorities, and bring back the identity that made the brand thrive. Or it can just double down, continue dismissing its most loyal customers, and just follow the same path that we've seen from other brands that actually ignored warning signs until it was too late. But either way, the situation is just a warning for other companies chasing trends instead of just listening to their base. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button, share the video for a while across social media. Subscribe to the channel. Join the Discord server in the description below, and I'll see you on the next one. Until then, peace.